And I want the people that help me get there to be very well off and very comfortable. And there's still going to be a whole bunch of money in the bank. And that is where I'm going to be able to have a very big impact, because I'm going to be able to fund some organizations that are very near and dear to my heart. Today we are doing a Q&JP, the Julius Perspective. I am your host, Jason Julius. And as I have said many times, I'm not here to give you answers. I am here to give you my perspective. And what you do with that information, you get to own. You get to make your own decisions, find your own answers, and own your decisions and hold yourself accountable for heading your own way. So in the Julius Perspective, I have some co-hosts here that they have some questions for me to opine on. But I'm changing up this platform a little bit, where let's just say I have a monologue or something that I want to bring to the table and talk about before we actually get to the questions. But it is along the same vein in general of what the questions were meant to elicit, which is my perspective on issues, whether it comes to life or business, and succeeding or the screwed up things that I see going on in the world. I got a
good one for you this week.
Okay, we'll get to it. But I mean, because this one is what I want to talk about is something that likely I would think that both of you would have a little bit of something to chime in on. It's just that I've had this happen several times over the years in business. And this time around, it was just like, yeah, another one of those. Yeah, that's the problem. I can't believe that I don't understand where parents get to this conclusion. So losing, again, yet another employee, because this in particular employee, which I don't want to call out this in particular employee. It doesn't even matter what town or that's not the point of what I'm getting at. Child struggling. So what does the parent do? What's their answer? Make them quit their job. That is not the answer. That working teaches responsibility. It teaches you about the real world, because most often, like even really good parents end up giving their kids passes on things that the real world would not give them passes on. So like putting your child out into the workforce, and I'm going to say, because way back in the day, it wasn't about letting you work. Your parents made you go work.
They needed you to work.
No, they did. Exactly. But in today's day and age, it's like when you've got a kid that wants to work, it's like, man, you know what? Celebrate that. Why? Hooray. You don't want your face in your iPad or in your phone. You actually want to get out and work. Cool. That builds character, that builds responsibility, that exposes you to the real world, which is an unfair world, and we all have to operate in it. And it means your feelings are going to get hurt, and it means you're going to have to work with different personalities, and it means you're going to be held to higher expectations than what your parents hold you to. Because when your parents say dinner's at 5:00 and you sit at the table at 5:05, your parents just shaking their head, putting the food in front of you. Like, if you show up for work at 5:05, your boss is sitting there going, we don't do that here. That is unacceptable. It teaches you responsibility. And the overarching premise that I think has led to a lot of my development and success in general is that my father, the biggest thing my father passed on to me was work ethic. And he didn't even talk about it. He showed it. He did it. He worked 2 to 3 jobs to actually put food on the table for me and my sister. It's because we were responsibilities that you play, you pay. He physically created responsibilities, and he physically got up every day and worked a second job. And when that wasn't enough, worked a third job to support, take care of, pay for, handle, live up to his responsibilities. And that was never lost on me. And that's why I've long said, I am not the smartest individual in the world, but I will outwork you. And it was that work ethic that I saw out of him to be a responsible individual, contribute to society. And I just think that when parents are like, it's like taking a kid's job away it's not taking away a quote unquote privilege. It's not like taking their car away from them or taking their video game away from them. If saying, shame on you, I'm going to penalize you. Like when a child chooses to work, the last thing that you should do is take that job away from them. You should encourage them to be the best worker they can be, to express. Now you've taken on a responsibility. You're working for somebody. It's very important that you're on time. It's very important that you show up and that you give your best and that you learn their processes and procedures and you be the best employee that you can be. That is the side of where parents should be talking about building strong character, building their work ethic, encouraging it, not being like, oh, you're bad, you're having problems, I'm taking your job away from you. I'm like, it's just that when you have to look at it and say, this generation is the generation that's going to take care of me when I get old. And the next generation that comes on is the generation that's going to take care of them when they get old. And as a parent, your kids are growing up, and what are you doing? You're teaching them that, oh, don't worry about work. Don't worry about work ethic. Well, sooner or later, enough of them are going to grow up realizing that. And then when your ass is old and you want to be taken care of and you wonder why that generation just sits down and is like, yeah, no, thanks. I'm not going to contribute. I'm not worried about you being taken.
Feeling it today.
Exactly. Who do you have to blame? Yourself. Because I have said myself that my generation is to blame for a lot of this stuff. Just because I'm trying to own it as far as generationally, because the generation underneath me and the generation underneath them, they know nothing about struggle. Like, they're too far one or two removed. I mean, I did not have a great childhood, but I did not have a horrible childhood. I did not struggle in the manner of wondering whether I was going to have a meal to eat every day, but I did stand in line for government cheese, and sometimes that meal was just ramen or pita bread swabbed with butter and government cheese stuffed in
ramen?
It. Huh? You tomato. I say ramen, you say ramen. That's fine. That's not my point being.
Sounds like, fancier your way.
Like my parents, their parents really did struggle, and so I recognize what that struggle is, and I see the importance of working hard to fight against that type of struggle. The generation under me, the generation under them, they know nothing about struggle. They're too far removed, and it's my generation that apparently didn't struggle enough to be able to impress upon these generations. Do not take for granted the easy street that you have, and the easy answer is, oh, you're bad. I'm taking your job away from you. Well, like, that is what starts with the problem itself. And I'm just sitting there going, when you have problems, you work through problems, and work is the key word. And just the same way that can be said and it mean so many different things, work means so many different things. You might not put manual labor into a relationship, but you work on a relationship. I mean, the importance of work and of working through your problems and living up to your responsibilities in life by working a job, that these are basic skills that should be taught at a young age so that they grow up to be productive members of society as adults. And when I see parents like stripping them of that as a child when they actually want to work, I'm like, that. I just wonder if you realize just how counterproductive that is. Because after 17 years, I've seen a couple generations of young people come through the operations, and like, I've watched the work ethic degrade. I'm not saying that, like, some of them, we've got some girls, some employees that are in the stores that I'm like, man, I want to meet your parents. You got great work ethic. You got a solid head on your shoulders. That had to come from somewhere. And I applaud those parents in general. They're individual, but as a group, like, my generation, like, forgot that when they say the loss of freedom is only one generation away. I mean, like, our system is set up to I don't know, is it pay it forward or pay it backward? I mean, like their Social Security is you pay in to take care of the other generation. You don't get it yourself. Well, our society is set up that what you're paying in is not for you to collect. It's you're taking care of the older generation, and then the younger generation will be paying in to take care of you. That's the cycle that our society is on. But it just seems to me that the generations behind us want to work less and less and less. So when robots and automation truly do take over, I'm like, we got nobody to blame but ourselves, and it's a character issue. And I'm sitting there going, you want to raise your kids to be decent human beings and operate in high character, and so much of that revolves around having good work ethic. So when I see parents going what I see as totally counterproductive in the opposite direction, it just breaks my heart, because it's like, that's like, you're not doing the kids, that our next generation, you're not doing them any favors. And honestly, I'm sitting there going, I worked so early and worked so hard that when I was young, I told my kids, don't worry about it. You enjoy your childhood. You got the rest of the time to work. And I'm sitting there going,
you did your part.
I know it. That's where I'm telling you, like, I think that I kind of did my own kids a disservice by not telling them, get out there and get a job, because my kids, the first 18 years, they didn't know nothing a lick of a hard day's work, because I didn't make them work. They didn't have that drive to get out and work like I did. Like at 14 years old, man, I was raring to go to work. So I'm trying to own my piece of it as well. But when I see parents that are just ready to strip and take the easy road of being like, you're not going to a job, and I'll tell your employer, I'm forcing you to quit your job. I'm like, you're not. So what? You're going to make them sit at home, and then you're going to let them pick up their iPad and sit on their lazy butt and do nothing but stare into a screen? You won't take that away from them, but you'll take their job away from them. That just doesn't make any sense to me. And that's just my 2 cents about where the world is going.
I think it's funny that that's the topic you brought up this week, because I've been arguing with my sister all week about this.
Oh, really? That's
my nephew's about to turn 16, and when he turned 15, he wanted to get a job. She wouldn't let him. And he's like, I want to work. I feel like I should be working.
That's awesome.
And she won't let him. Now he's about to turn 16, and he wants to work. She won't let him.
And that's, like I said, it's developing character. It's developing responsibility. It's preparing you for the real world where you have to get up every day and work.
And I got her to the point that she'll allow him to work 10 hours a week.
To which no employer is interested in 10 hours a week.
10 hours a week? That's Monday.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. At 10 hours a week, you're talking about it taking, even as a part-timer in a job, a month to onboard and literally get them trained. They're going to be looking at that going, man, I'm sorry. I'm looking for somebody to give me 20 to 25 hours. I'm just not willing to waste my time on 10 hours. And again, parent getting in the way of progress of development for their child.
Like that ruins that. You're spending more time taking and picking up your kid than what he's working.
Than what he's actually working, exactly.
It's not worth it.
Yeah, I mean, you're traveling across town just for your kid to work 2 hours a day.
Yeah.
What are you really going to do for 2 hours?
Right.
It doesn't make.
Ongoing. Let you know how.
And that's where I'm sitting there going, because and I'm sorry that I have to say this because it's about your sister.
It's all right. She can handle it.
That's selfish. That's her being selfish. That's not thinking of his best interest. That I don't know what she's thinking, but it's certainly not taking the long game of thinking my job is to raise my child to grow up and be a productive member of society.
The same logic that you just said. Like, you have your whole life to work. You're a kid, be a kid.
But if that kid decides that they want to work, I mean...
Well, I raised him as a nerd, and nerd things are expensive.
So he wants to get out and work for it, which is solid character in itself.
Yeah.
He's willing to get out and work for it. That right there is what you want to be teaching to the next generation. You can have anything you want as long as you're willing to get out and work for it.
Which seems like the correct way to go.
That you would think. Okay.
I don't have kids,
So I don't know if that was quite a monologue, but I do know that I like the idea in this Q&JP that it seems like as we go through every week, I got certain little touchy points that I feel very strongly about, and I thought that this segment was the segment that was appropriate for me to bring it to the table. So let's move on to the Q&JP part. Which one of you has your first question for my perspective?
We're both pretty prepared. So
Yeah,
really matters.
Uh-oh, sounds like you, okay. You know what, that's good though. That's not a bad thing. I mean, I would much rather have more well thought out, deeper prepared, like some of the times. I don't know if you're trying to stump me, but okay, go ahead.
Sometimes.
Let's
I
hear
just
it.
like to give you shit.
Yeah, no, that's...
So tell me this. When is the last time you gave back to your community?
When is the last time that I gave back to my community? I mean, wow, I feel like that's kind of a loaded question because I feel like I give back like on a very regular basis.
Well, this is the point, just to show like how grateful you are. We want to hear all the good things that you do.
Oh, well, don't get me wrong, because the thing is, I mean, no, because like, I mean, one, I'm not going to name no names, but it's because there's two sides to this overall story when it comes to that. My mentor, and sooner or later I'll introduce him, my real first like mentor, somebody that literally took me under his wing. He's a very modest man. He very well off. I mean, that's very, very well off. He was a very large, if not the largest contributor to the development of the new YMCA, but nobody knows that. He saw it as a passion, something near and dear to him in his heart, and was very clear to say, I'm not looking for credit. I'm not looking for recognition. This community's been good to me. God's been good to me. I have it inside of my means. So this is his way of giving back. And I've told him several times, I'm like, okay, look, you're still in business. And I would think that you would want people to know that you do give back to your community. And he's like, it's not, that's just not how he's built. And I respect that. And what I'm getting at is that I don't get me wrong. That's what I said. I mean, I have an ego. I do try and keep that ego in check. I'm humble by nature, yet very confident in myself and my abilities. So I will talk about the accomplishments, the lessons that I've learned. I'll talk about my story, my journey, my road, but I don't overly go out of my way to talk about the things that I do out of the quote unquote goodness of my heart, because I'm doing it specifically because it is out of the goodness, because something tugs on my heartstrings, because something is like very personally that I have a personal passion for. So I do, but I don't talk about, because if I feel like I'm talking about, then I feel like I'm doing because I'm looking for the recognition and the pat on the back. And that's not why I do it. And don't get me wrong, I'm not a saint. I can think back to where every year I can list a dozen things that I know that I do to support the communities that I'm in. Some of them have been quite sizable when it comes to either monetary or time commitments. Many of them are small and I'm just participating in my own way, but that's not the recognition that I'm looking for. So I don't go out of my way to try and look for that recognition. It's nice when it's given. It's nice when there's an acknowledgement. Don't get me wrong. Just like with my mentor, I've never cut such a big check that I have to be like, make this anonymous. Do not let my name get out there. That's
like, you were going to put my name above the door.
Yeah, but don't do that. Yeah, no, I mean, because I'm sitting there going, I do know that investment by him was somewhere 50, 100,000. Yeah, like it was a very substantial check that was donated. But so I'm sitting there going, and I'm not on that level. I mean, don't get me wrong. That's the whole thing, is that I really believe like you have to take care of yourself before you can take care of somebody else. Like you can't, the people that end up donating millions, if they donated it away before they ever built the millions, well, they wouldn't be able to take the millions and turn it into more millions so that they could make sizable contribution, more millions. Yeah. You've got to get there before you can actually do that. But I mean, I've written some thousands and many hundreds. And I have donated a whole bunch of time, and I have participated. And you guys know, I've donated thousands of dollars worth of product in general. I just don't. Do
you feel like modesty is just key in situations like this, so that way people aren't really able to judge you?
No. Because of the thing is, I don't really. Again, when it comes to the word judging me, I don't give a f***.
Clearly,
that I don't. That's not. So I'm not gonna. When it comes, like, I care what people think of me, but when I see that thinking of me moving toward judgment of me, I'm like, step off. So that's not. It is that importance of, like, don't get me wrong. That's what I said, is that I say I'm humble by nature. I say that because I'm trying to keep my ego in check.
Right.
Because I know that I'm very capable. And I know that I'm capable of accomplishing things that the by and large vast majority are not capable of accomplishing. I know it's because they're their own worst enemy. They can't get out of their own way. And I don't carry that mindset. That's not how I walk around and carry myself. But I do feel it's important that I keep myself grounded. And nobody else is going to keep me grounded. That ain't no different than, I don't like being told no. I mean, like, I'll freight train run over you. It's not somebody else that's going to keep me in check. I got to keep myself in check. And when I give or I do, and I am not doing it to seek recognition, it's important that I'm do this stuff because it's important to you.
Yeah.
Do this because it's the right thing to do. Do not look for recognition. Be humble and grateful that you are able to do. And it's just like, it's an internal mechanism. It ain't no different than, like, look, so I made some really bad decisions in business in the beginning, like some bad decisions. I took on risks and made bets that any seasoned entrepreneur would have looked at me and been like, you're an idiot. And I was. But the point being, when I made those mistakes and I took the business up on the brink of failure, I had to ask for help. Part of the reason that I got that help was because I was humble enough to ask for help, because I was willing to own that I made the actual mistake and I was willing to make it right. And I put roadblocks in front of myself to assure them that when they helped me, I could not go make those same bad decisions. I purposely put roadblocks in front of myself to say, I know I can make any and all of these decisions because I'm at the top and I can make these decisions, but I'm asking for your help. So I have put this in front of me. If I'm going to make a decision, I got to stop here and I'm going to check with this person. I got to make this decision. I'm going to stop here and I'm going to check with this person to make sure that I am putting roadblocks in front of myself, so that I made sure that I have learned from my lessons and that I'm not going to make the same mistakes, and that I'm running my thought processes across other competent people, so that I'm not being irresponsible with the help that was given to me to rebound off of my screw-ups in general. So I know I've seen egos get out of control. I've seen people get so up in the clouds that they forget that we're all human. None of us are better than the other. It's important to me that I stay grounded. It's important to me that I keep my ego in check. It's important to me, and it's my responsibility. So I don't believe that when you go out and do good things for the community, that you should expect or be seeking continuous recognition for that stuff. You do it for the right reasons, because it's the right thing to do, because you are heartfelt compelled to do. And when you do that shit, it shouldn't matter whether they think to give you recognition or not. You do it because it's the right thing and it means something to you. And on a grander scale, one of the most righteous organizations in all of America is the Make-A-Wish Foundation. Mm-hmm. They created a memory and they did something for me and my family that I'll never forget. And they will get millions out of me. Yeah. And will I be looking for recognition? No. But today, 17 years later, I can never forget the memory that they gave me and my family and their only purpose in their organization is to give terminally ill children one last wish. And in all of the 501c3s and all of the different ways that they raise money, and they write into their bylaws that by raising money, they can pull salaries. And some organizations are more forthcoming than others. Some organizations are better than others. Make-A-Wish Foundation is the most righteous organization in America as far as I'm concerned. And when I have millions in the bank, and likely hundreds of millions in the bank, the Make-A-Wish Foundation will get a large piece of that, because I'll never forget what they did for me. And that's not a promise that I'm making to anybody else. That's a promise that I'm making to myself. I've said before, and whether my kids can be pissed about it, like, I'm not, what this business is building to be a multi-billion-dollar business, and I'm not going to give my kids multi-billion dollars. I'm going to be a respected, smart, astute business person that is going to end up amassing a lot of wealth. And I want the people that help me get there to be very well off and very comfortable. And there's still going to be a whole bunch of money in the bank. And that is where I'm going to be able to have a very big impact, because I'm going to be able to fund some organizations that are very near and dear to my heart. And that's, and do I need recognized for that? No, that's, it's like my relationship with myself. I want to be humble. I want to be grateful. I want to be grounded, and I want to be recognized for being a thought leader, for being a great entrepreneur and business person. Honestly, at some point, I hope to be recognized for being an author, for being a speaker, for being a teacher and a motivator. But when it comes to the giving back, I'm not, that recognition is not where that's not. And so do I think that I do a lot for the community? There's, there's ebbs and flows. There are times when we're in the midst of business and we don't do a whole lot. And then there are times when we do a whole lot. And it is all funded and supported off of the efforts of everything that we do in the business, because I don't have the money in my personal bank account to do that. It's all off of all of our work, and where we can give back, we give back. And generally, we do end up more often than not giving back with people that already interact with us, or school systems, or participating as part of our community. And I think that's important for ingraining yourself in the community, but you don't do it necessarily to be recognized. You do it because you want to be a part of a community. So long-winded, I know. Let's
man of few words.
Yes. I said my TikTok is like, I'm a small business entrepreneur with a lot to say.
And it's true.
Yes. Okay, Matt, what's your question? What do you got for me?
I forgot now.
Okay, well, I'm
just kidding. I want to talk about reviews. A lot of people, especially in the small business world, are always worried about the reviews. Because you have no control over it. You don't know what anybody online is going to say that can be truthful or not truthful and attack your business. And this week we had one come across, as you know, from another small business attacking us. So yeah, how do you? What's your perspective and views on reviews?
Do you remember what was that? The Adam Sandler movie. He was Bobby Boucher.
Oh, Waterboy.
Waterboy. Social media is the devil. It's a double-edged sword. It is a double-edged sword in general. You know what? I mean, I got a lot to say about this. Not that I wouldn't have.
Shocker.
Yeah. So, one, I take reviews very seriously, and nothing gets under my skin more than to find out the person on the other side of the review that it's not a serious review in itself. I try and operate in high character, because we've talked about, I know that I'm not that you say I'm not an acquired taste. And I'm like, I know I'm not everybody's cup of tea. But I very much operate in high character. It's very important to me that I can look at myself in the mirror and live with myself. And part of that is that I don't look to tear anybody else down. That said, I am not the guy to try and walk over. You might say could be a counter puncher, because I know that I can take a punch, but if you punch me, you had better be prepared to be hit very hard, going the other direction, because I don't take it lying down. I really want to see everybody succeed. Like I don't wish any ill will on anybody. Hell, half the reason that this podcast was to talk and say, you know what, make sure you know what you're getting into, because success is so hard to come by in business that empathy that like it breaks my heart to see the devastation that happens in business, because I want to see everybody succeed. I want to see all tides rise, but the reality is only 1% of the people that start into entrepreneurship actually see it through the other side. So I don't ever want to step on somebody else in my path to success. I very much, then you segment that out with, when I went into business, I didn't go into business to compete with any other local small business. I went into business to compete with Starbucks, to compete with the gas stations, to compete with any major brand that was involved in the food and beverage industry, because I don't like the idea of even thinking about competing with another small business, because I don't like the idea of thinking about taking food off another local person's plate, because I don't view big business that way. They're big multi-billion-dollar corporations. That's just not how I actually view them. So when I get a review, I automatically, I take that review to heart. And then when I find out that it is a low character piece of trash that does not understand the basic principles of humanity and the unwritten rules about not attacking another small business, because you know yourself firsthand how hard it is to be in business, well, it gets the hair up on my back. And I'm kind of like, you know what I said to him. And
I'm aware.
And one of them decided that they were going to pull their review, which I'm thinking, well, the other one didn't. Apparently, little buddy, you still need some help. And I'm not done there, because, again, you attacked me. And when you start in business, your first thing is to grow your business. Well, once you get to growth and you have a certain amount of sustainability, then your next responsibility is to protect what you've built. And I love my customers dearly. I love what I've created. I love my brands dearly. And I love my employees dearly. And when somebody comes through and puts a review out like that, they're trying to take food off my plate, they're trying to attack my employees, they're trying to attack my brands, and my job is to protect. And if protecting, because my son, I always taught him that you do not allow bullies. That if a big kid starts messing with a little kid, I expect you to step in the middle of it. Do not allow bullying to happen. And that's exactly the way I saw that review. And I'm like, if you are dumb enough to attack somebody else, you had better be prepared for the repercussions. Because like I told a gentleman today, I value my reputation. And I value my associations. I know that if I allow my reputation to be tarnished, that I could put my status inside of associations at risk. And whether you want to call it guilt by association, groups of people run together, and certain people run together because they have come to respect the other people around them and depend that they're not going to operate in a low character status. And those two husband and wife individuals are nail in their own coffin with me, because I will never forget their names. I will never forget their business, and they will never be associated with any groups of people I'm associated with. And I'm trying to find higher levels and groups of people to be associated with. So if they ever have any desire to ascend, as soon as they come into a group that I'm associated with, they're fucked. And I'm not apologizing about that, because I didn't attack them. I was focusing on me. I was focusing on my business. They weren't even on my radar. I wasn't thinking about them. Why? Because I'm not even thinking about trying to compete with other small businesses, because I don't want to think about hurting somebody else in my own quest and ambition to grow my own business in general. And I'm like, it's sad that people are willing to display that type of low character. But I've long said, you know what? I played let me, how do I say that? I'm not a politician, but I've played one. And I know politics very well, and I don't like playing politics. But if you mess with me, I am very much aware of what the political game is. And I have had enough hard knocks in life, and I have been around the block enough that if you're going to come messing with me, you had better be prepared for an actual fight. And I'm not trying to be a hard ass. I'm just being honest, because I know that I am a decent person, but I also know I am not the person to be walked on. And so many people in life have tried to underestimate me. And I'm like, you know what? The same way you asked me a question here a week or two ago, and it was like, I spent so much time proving people wrong that it really became like boring. Like this isn't even fun for me. I want to prove myself right. Well, like I don't have to do that shit anymore. Yeah. Like the first 10 years, man, I was challenged by so many people that I proved so many people wrong. And so many people in the first 10 years thought that they would step on me to try and get ahead. And so many of those people all found out the same thing. I'm not that guy. So in 17 years, I'm looking back and I'm like, we're coming up on 10 years where I really haven't had to make that point. The worst side of me has not had to come out because, but by and large, like everybody leaves me alone. Don't poke the bear. I'm not trying to, because I'm a decent person and I want to live just a decent life, because I literally, like, I've never, in my mind, I'm like, I have never attacked anybody. Now, I've went on a counterattack, but I have never attacked anybody, because that's just not an axe that I'm looking to grind. I don't think that's, why would you outwardly attack somebody else? You should defend, you should counter, because you should never take a punch without coming back. Don't show people that you're willing to be walked on. But I have never attacked or went after anybody that didn't come after me first. And I do view it as a character issue. So, we go back a couple years ago where there was another couple associated with a large corporation, and they decided that they wanted to first scam us and then attack us. And upon research, again, I was like, what, the girls, like, you know what? We got a whole bunch of girls and we have a whole bunch of technology savvy people. If you're going to attack me online, I don't even have to stalk you. I've got 50 people that will stalk you.
Absolutely.
And it's not as a threat. I'm saying
we will find you.
Yes. and it's not about the finding you. And what I need to know is who you are. And when I find out that it's a scam, and when I find out that you're trying to attack me, whether it be through competition or some type of ulterior motives, I'm not threatening anybody. I'm saying naturally in social media, if you think that you're going to do something anonymously, there's too many ways you will be found out. And that's what I'm talking about. Because once I found out who they were, and once I found out who they were associated with, once I found out what company they worked for, then I went to social media and I said, look, we're being attacked and it's unfounded. And in the day and age of social media, what are you supposed to do about that? Because it's social media, am I just supposed to roll over and do nothing about it? Or should I defend myself? And by and large, the response was, you're a good person, you're a good company, defend yourself at all cost. No problem, that's the green light, that's all I needed. And we smoked them, and very quickly, they pulled down their reviews, and all of a sudden, the whole thing went away. And
that person did lose his job.
Did he really? I did not. And I mean, and I don't wish anybody losing their jobs at all.
I mean, I don't know if it was just cause of that.
No, but I mean, that's what their actions did. Consequences to, circumstances to every situation and consequences to all actions. And if you do something stupid, likelihood there's going to be consequences to it. But you do, I'm not going to say if that was the case, I'm not going to apologize for it, because fraudulently attacking us online, like, again, I've made it very clear. My business was created due to the loss of my child, so I take it all personal. I have employees that depend on that shop opening every day to put food on their table. I take that responsibility seriously. I take it all personal. When we screw up and we get a bad review.
That's what I was just about
to
say.
I mean, because everybody, all of you, everybody knows in the organization, in every problem, there is a sequence of events. And it could be we did something right and the customer did something wrong, and we did something right and the customer did something wrong, and then we did something wrong and then the customer did something wrong. And it's like, okay, where are we on this? In that sequence, we did something wrong. We need to own the responsibility for the entire interaction because we did something wrong. And had we not done that something wrong, the entire interaction might have transpired differently.
Yep. Taking a whole different road.
Exactly. So if we find a piece of it that it's ours to own, we value our customers and we need to bend over backwards to do anything that we can to make it right. And that's the by and large, because by and large, majority of the time, customers right, and it's a legitimate problem, complaint. We screwed up. We did something wrong. We got to own it. We got to make it right. But then there's that 1 or 2% of the time that we didn't do anything wrong, and they're just having a bad day thinking they're going to take it out on us. Or they don't want to pay because they want to scam, just like that one dude.
Yeah,
that's what
we put him on. We put him on hold, and he's talking to his buddy. He's like, "I do this all the time." He was like, "After we get done on this phone call, he's like, I'm going to call McDonald's and get us a free couple of meals over there."
And and beauty of technology I don't know, 6 months earlier we had just installed new phone systems, and they record the conversations for quality and assurances purposes. And he thought on hold, he could just talk whatever. Well, Matt just happened to be in the building, and we were able to pull up the phone call instantaneously and busted him out right then and there, because I'm sitting there going, again, scams like that, if you set a precedent that you're willing to be scammed like that, all you're doing is opening the doors for scammers. But the bigger issue is,
at least he owned his scam.
Yeah, that's
like, after he heard himself say it, he was like, "You're right. I'm sorry."
Yeah.
Click.
Oh, wow.
But my bigger thing is that every so often you have one of those situations, and to me, I look for an opportunity for everything. Those are the opportunities to show your employees that you're not going to roll over, that you will stand up for your employees when they've done nothing wrong. Because as much as you value your customers, you have to value your team too. And when your team does nothing wrong and you get caught up in a shitty character individual or a scam or a shit review by another hateful, shameful small business that for whatever reason decides they want to pay attention to you instead of paying attention to their own backyard, it is an opportunity to show your employees you will not allow that shit to happen, that you will stand up for them, that you will stand up for the business, that you will fight for what is right. And some people might set back because they're non-confrontational and say, you should just let it go. Sorry for that. I'm not that guy. I'm not letting it go, because I'm making it very clear, do not try and walk on me. I'm not built that way. I can't live with that ain't no different than like being bullied. Like, do you know the mental harm that it does to a kid that goes home and gets into bed and thinks, I let myself be bullied and I didn't do anything to stand up to them?
And they will do it.
Yeah.
Day after day.
Yeah. And I'm not willing to do that. Because I care about me. I care about the brands. I care about the people that I'm around. And again, I care about my mental health, and I'm not going to sit there and take a sucker punch and walk away and then be twice as hurt when I get into bed and think, you bitch, you just let somebody roll over you. No, I'm not built that way. Unapologetically, I am not that person. And I mean, don't get me wrong, as a younger individual, because I wasn't that way, I lost a couple fights that they knew, though, that I wasn't going to back down. They knew that I was willing to stand up for myself.
I'm going to get my ass kicked.
But no, that's, I'm sitting there going,
I ain't letting it go.
You know what? I'm not going to turn around, but I know, like, I have a very distinguished scar on the back of my head. And that was because I was not willing to back down. He just happened to be much bigger, and I lost the fight. But that
can't win them all.
No, but that fight never happened again. he did not challenge me
point.
ever again,
That's the point.
because he knew I'm not going to sit there and take that line down.
Most of the bullies don't expect anybody to ever push back.
And that's exactly it right there. And again, that's why the thing is, I'm telling my son this at the time, thinking that he really is going to like exceed my height. And I'm like, he's growing and he's a pretty good stout kid. And I'm thinking, boy's going to end up being 6'3", 6'4". Now, he's still a little bent that he's 5'10",
5'11" and a half.
But he's still quite a capable young man, and I very much taught him. Obviously, you are not going to be the smallest in the group, and if you see somebody bigger bullying, I expect you to step in the middle of it.
How I was raised.
Yeah, that's because it's not right. When you see something wrong, like it has to play on everybody mentally to watch what you know is wrong and walk away and do nothing about it. Like, I'm not built that way. I'll beat myself up for literally witnessing wrong and saying, you did nothing to stop this. You did nothing to say this is not okay. I don't want that on me mentally. Yeah. So I can't. And somebody from the outside looking in, they might not have seen the entire thing unfold, and all of a sudden, again, I'm going to look like the asshole, and I'm going to look like the bear. Yeah, exactly. And I'm sitting there going, I'm comfortable with that because I know the whole story, and I got to live with myself, and I'm not okay with that. I care about my own mental health, and I care about my brands, and I care about my people, and you know what? I don't have much. These in particular, I won't even call them necessarily bullies. But I'm not going to turn this into the religious side of this, because I mean, I'm a God-loving, God-fearing man, and I know sooner or later I'm going to meet my maker, and I'm going to have to answer for myself and my actions on this earth. There are some people that use religion to stand behind it as a blockade while they are saying and doing very low character things, and that again, that in itself really bothers me. I'm gonna wrap this up. I'm not gonna go.
He's gonna stop me from
I'm
commenting.
not gonna go down that route. It's just that, I mean, it's shitty character any which way you want to cut it, and I won't allow it. That's not, because when it comes, I'm sitting there going, what's more important to me? Doing the right thing is more important to me. My mental health is more important to me. There are things that are more important to me than being politically correct, or definitely there are things that are more important to me than money. And I'm sitting there going, I know when somebody does something stupid and I fire back at them, that if somebody else doesn't see the entire situation, that it could make me look bad. I don't care. I'm the one that's got to look at me in the mirror. And I got to live with myself, and I'm not willing to stand for that stuff. So if you're a low character individual, or you're a pain in the ass, and you think that you're going to come knocking on my doorstep, I mean, I don't play that way, and I'm unapologetic about it. And I still think that I'm a good person, because if I wasn't a good person, then I wouldn't be surrounded by a team, because the people wouldn't be willing to work with me. People wouldn't be willing to patronize my business.
You're a pretty good person.
I'm not a bad person. I don't. Am I a difficult person from time to time?
You're an acquired taste person.
Yeah, no, I get it.
You're not a
but
bad
we
person.
already. I mean, apparently my ADD or my ADHD is a problem. But we've already established, since I drink lots of caffeine, I'm doing. We're
trying to
good.
self-medicate.
Yeah, exactly. That's what.
You got to start somewhere.
Yep. All right, I don't know how many minutes we went, but you definitely got some perspective from me today, and if any of that perspective resonated, please share the show, rate the show, comment. Please let me know what your thoughts are. I got broad shoulders, so criticism, constructive criticism, unconstructive criticism, I'll take it any which way it comes, but definitely share your opinion. Let me know what you think, and share the show. But until next time, you guys have a good night.